What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, we're going to be talking about my team selection for Game Week 26. So I'm going to quickly take you through how I did in Game Week 25. I've got that on screen already. Then we'll look ahead to Game Week 26. Lots of conversations around transfers and hits this week. So I did a video on hits yesterday, but I'm going to talk through my process for my own team of how I'm deciding how many to take. And we're going to talk about captaincy for about 2 seconds because, let's be honest, we all know where it's going. So Game Week 25 was a good week for me, right? I really enjoyed it by the end anyway, not necessarily all the way through. 83 points, a really good game week rank, 111k, and that took me from about 83k to 52k. Now, I've been here a few times this season around the 50k mark, so I really need to push on now. I've got all my chips left, so my second wild card, both free hits, bench boost, triple captain. There's a lot of double game weeks, a lot of blanks and stuff like that happening, especially over the next couple of weeks. So if I can push on, this is a really good time to do it, right? Ultimately, only the game week 38 rank matters. The best moments of this week were Craig Dawson scoring in the 91st minute and coming on for Cancelo, and I got Livramento on for Reguilon as well. He was probably the worst part of this game week, because I didn't think he was going to miss that Wolves game. I thought he'd possibly miss one of the double game week games, but not necessarily Wolves. So that was a little bit annoying, and Livramento obviously was benched. But Dawson coming on for Cancelo was brilliant, and Fernandes getting his goal against Brighton, like right in the 97th minute as captain. And look, there's a little bit of luck there, because had I known that Cavani was injured, I may have not got Fernandes and I may have just captained Ronaldo instead. So the difference between Ronaldo and Fernandes' captaincy wasn't that big, but getting Fernandes instead of Salah and captaining him was pretty huge this week, to be honest. And I was hoping that he would outscore Salah. He did, and that is now going to let me... I said when I did it, down the line that's going to cost me an extra 4 points, but I don't care, and I don't care. I'm now going to use those points next week. So overall, really good week. Jota got benched. It didn't really matter. He came on. Everyone owns him anyway, and Foden finally chipped in with some points as well. So overall, really happy. 83 points was decent. All my Man United players hit double digits. I went all in on the double game week. Only Trossard really was just poetic in the end. He didn't even make it to 60 minutes of the only game he started and got me 1 point. Worst transfer of the season. He's going this week. We'll talk about Spitch, and then we'll look ahead at my team. Big shout out to Spitch for sponsoring today's video. If you haven't already checked out the app, you can download it in the link in the description below. You just need to be 18 or over. And it's weekly fantasy football. There's no worrying about season-long games and chips and blanks and doubles and all that stuff. You just pick a team for that week, try and get as many points as you can, and try and win some money, right? So there's free games to enter and there's paid-for games as well. You need to gamble responsibly. There's links in the description below to begambleaware.org as well. So as I always say, right, there are a bunch of competitions that you can kind of play week to week. So Champions League is in there as well, Bundesliga and stuff like that. I tend to stick to the Premier League. You can actually see from my games, I've entered a few tournaments. I was 670th last week. So my team did okay. 2,890 points was my total score, which isn't too bad. That's the team that I picked. So it did okay. We're going to try and pick a better team for this week. So I'm going to go to the lobby. You can pick the free one if you just want to play that one. There are, like I said, paid for games as well if you want to try and win some real cash too. I'm going to go into the free one and just submit my team from there. Now, one thing to point out for weeks like this, especially if you're an FPL head, which you are if you're watching this channel, there's a double game week in FPL, but in Spitch, it's just 1 week as normal, right? So it's the games up until Sunday. So Liverpool play Norwich in this, but they don't also have the Leeds fixture as well. But obviously, they are playing Norwich, so they are still a really good option to go with. So I've got Salah in there. I've got Trent. I've got Alisson Becker as well. One interesting thing is Broja, who I've got up front, who is playing Everton. So not a bad fixture, I would say. He's only 1.8 million, so he's super cheap. So he kind of enables the budget elsewhere. So you can see there, 1.8 million, 108 points so far. And Gordon for Everton as well. He has started a lot of matches recently. I think he started like 5 of the last 6. He's listed as a midfielder and he's only 6.4 million. So there are some bargains in there. Literally then just click choose my captain. It's obviously going to be Salah this week. Click confirm and then join free, and then that is it. So if you want to give it a go, link in the description below. Give it a try right now. 18 or over, get it downloaded. All right, there's a lot to unpack this week, and I think a lot of people are in very similar situations, right? So I'll try and make this as quick as possible, okay? Trent's obviously staying. Cancelo's staying as well. I'm not really looking to make a transfer for one of my bench players necessarily to get a double game week and to bench Cancelo. I just don't think it's worth it. So those two are playing. Now, a lot of people have probably got De Gea and Foster like me. If you've got the money to do Foster to Ramsdale and keep De Gea, and it doesn't really affect your future transfer plans, I think the fact that Ramsdale will be so heavily owned and people will also have Arsenal defenders, it's probably worth backing against Foster outscoring Ramsdale, which just doesn't look very likely this week. So if you've got the money to do that, great. But what if you're in a position like me where you're probably not going to have the money to do that, bearing in mind I'll come on to my transfers in a sec, you then have to do De Gea to Ramsdale to bench Foster, and then you'd have to play Foster in game week 27 because Ramsdale doesn't have a game. And in that scenario, I'm not quite sure right now if it's worth it. So at this moment in time, I am siding with keeping Foster and playing him this week and just playing De Gea in game week 27, who has Watford at home. I just think it's very close for those next 2 weeks. Now, if Arsenal 100% had a double game week in 28 and we found out before the deadline for 26, then I'd possibly just get Ramsdale because you're covering off the ownership elsewhere. He probably is the best goalkeeper for this week and he would have a double game week in 28, and so therefore playing Foster against Man United away in 27 might not be so bad. So that's what I'm thinking. If you've got the money to go from Foster to Ramsdale, it might be worth the hit. If you've got to go from De Gea to Ramsdale, I'm a little bit unsure. It's one of those that I may just do before the deadline. But right now, I'm sticking with where I am because I'm making a bunch of other transfers elsewhere and I'm not quite sure if this one is worth it. With Reguilon, again, right at the start of the week, I was thinking, right, I'm definitely going to sell him. Now I'm not so sure because Sessegnon got brought off in the last game. Maybe I'm just framing it because I don't really want to sell him. But Sessegnon got brought off early. Now, I don't necessarily think it was his fault. They wanted to switch formation so they could try and get some more goals because obviously they were behind. But it's not a good look that you get to play and then you're straight off after 20 minutes. They haven't done any better without Reguilon on the pitch. I do think that Emerson Royale is definitely like a massive risk going forward because I think he hasn't looked great. But I think Reguilon's looked pretty good, especially in attack, right? And that's what Conte wants from his fullbacks, to attack. And Reguilon gets in some really good positions. He can deliver across as well. So I do think there's a chance that he only plays Man City and then gets benched against Burnley. And obviously then it's not just this week. You also have the worry about whether he's going to play in game week 27. But for me, for my team, if I bring in an Arsenal defender, that means I'm going to have only 10 players next week. Even with Livramento, it'd still be 10 players. So although I'd gain possibly an extra transfer this week, I would lose it next week anyway. And then the other option is kind of Wolves defenders, but I don't really like their fixture in game week 27. I mean, Leicester, Arsenal and West Ham, the 3 fixtures in the next 2 game weeks, they're okay. Like if I had a Wolves defender, I would absolutely play them and I'd be a little bit confident about them as well, but I just don't know if I want to bring them in. I kind of want to almost just take the risk that Reguilon plays at least 2 of the next 3, possibly gets all 3 games, because I do just think he is a better option for their team than maybe playing Sessegnon. And look, I don't think they're going to switch to a back 4. I think Conte likes 3 at the back with the 2 wing backs. So I think there is a chance he plays both. So again, it's all about just, is that individual hit worth it? I'm going to talk about multiple hits in a second, but is that hit worth it? Reguilon to an Arsenal defender to only have 10 players next week, or Reguilon to Saiss, or Semedo maybe, or even Cody, is that worth 4 points? Right now, again, at the time of recording, I'm thinking no. So this is probably going to be my backline for this week. Got to be honest, I'm really glad I delayed this video till Thursday. One of the reasons was because I just wanted to try and think about my plan a little bit more, because it is a bit complicated this week, but also because of the European match, right? And I was wondering, if Salah gets injured, I won't even need to bring him in. And actually, it's Jota that ends up getting a knock, right? So there was lots and lots of quotes that came out on Twitter last night around exactly what Klopp said. Looking at it for all the ones that I've read, this is what it seems to me. Jota had an issue with his ankle. He got a knock. He played on in the first half. At half time it started swelling up, so they had to bring him off, and now they're going to assess it right before this weekend. So he's not definitely out, right? It is just a knock. He could be fine. But for me, Norwich at home is a pretty winnable fixture for Liverpool, no matter kind of what, not no matter what team they put out, but with their attacking options, whichever ones they choose, it's going to be decent. So Salah on the right, Firmino through the middle, and then Diaz or Mane on the left. That is perfectly fine. Why would you risk playing Jota instead? If anything, you save him for the Leeds game. Now, I don't think he's necessarily must sell, because even if he plays, even if Klopp says he's a doubt for Norwich or he should be okay, then you've got to think he's probably going to get some minutes for Leeds. And that is one good fixture, right? But for me, I was looking to sell him in game week 27 anyway, so I feel right now that I'm just going to use this as an excuse to sell him 1 week earlier. Now, a lot of people will say you have to have 3 Liverpool players in your team this week, and do not get me wrong, I'd really like to have 3, probably Robertson or Van Dijk as the third one, but I just don't think I can make it work. So I'm probably right now, at least as it stands, I'm going to say that a lot in this video, probably going to sell Jota to Salah, and I'll talk about how I'm going to fund that in a minute. I'm probably only going with 2 Liverpool players. They blank next week anyway, so anyone I use an additional hit on is going to lose a fixture in game week 27. So I don't think it works for my team right now to have 3. So I need to wait on news from Klopp. If he says Jota's absolutely fine, I might reassess. But right now, I think whatever he says, we're going to think he's a doubt for Norwich. And at that point, especially if we get early team news, and he's definitely not going to start that game, I'm probably going to sell him to Salah. With Bowen and Foden, I'm keeping them both. I don't think, like, I was kind of okay with selling Foden, but I just don't think it works for my team anymore. And also, he's got Everton in game week 27, so he has a fixture. It's a pretty good one. I'm pretty sure he's going to play in that game as well, or at least it looks pretty good with the way Man City's fixture schedule is right now. So he's staying. There's no one I really want to sell Bowen for either. And plus, for a single game week's go, it's a pretty good fixture. Fernandes is the tricky one, because as my plans are right now, I don't need to sell Fernandes to fund my other moves. So the question just simply comes down to, forget about all the other transfers that I'm going to do. Is Fernandes worth keeping, or is he worth selling to Son for a hit? Now, Son obviously has Man City away and Burnley away, which doesn't look like great fixtures. And Leeds away is a really good fixture. But Son is just always better for goal threat than someone like Fernandes. And he has caused Man City problems before. And in game week 27, yes, but Fernandes plays Watford, which is 2 good fixtures in a row. But Son has Leeds anyway. So again, he has that good Leeds fixture in 27, and he has an extra fixture this week. So I think there's a chance that this week and next week, Son outscores Fernandes by 4 points. So I'm strongly tempted to do it. So Fernandes to Son is looking good. Jota to Salah is looking good as well. Salah will 100% be my triple captain. I'm not even going to spend too much time on this. Yes, there's a chance he has his minutes managed in one of these games. I don't think it matters. He's still the best triple captain. I'm not even putting any more thought into it than that. I just don't care. Even if he only ends up playing 1 game, so be it. His ownership is going to be massive. His ability to score FPL points is huge. Yes, I think maybe Trent is more likely to play more minutes, but I don't think it's that much more likely that I'm willing to risk not going for Salah. So he will come in 100%. He'll be my triple captain. That's the end of it. All right, let's talk about the forwards and my kind of transfer plans and what the team will look like. I really want to talk about Man United as well, because people are just all over the place with their transfers with these Man United players. So after Southampton, Man United absolutely rubbish. I need to get rid of them. First half against Brighton, at least up until the Ronaldo goal, all I saw was people saying Brighton are the better team, Man United are bad, I cannot wait to sell my Man United players. Then Ronaldo scores, then Brighton get a red card, then Man United finally get their second goal. And now all of a sudden it's, well, they're playing Leeds next, maybe I should keep them, right? Nothing really has changed. Man United were already creating a bunch of chances. They just weren't putting the ball in the back of the net. And they always had leads in game week 26. So I don't know if we should really massively change our opinions on a game where Brighton were down to 10 men for a lot of the match, right? So for me, I just can't keep Ronaldo. I mean, maybe it's different for my team. Maybe you've got loads more money than I have for your FPL team. But Ronaldo and Fernandes, I cannot keep both of them. So Ronaldo will definitely be going. I think if Cavani comes back, he's a little bit of a minutes risk anyway. He's probably going to... I wouldn't be surprised if he gets his minutes managed against Leeds either way, because there's a big Champions League game against Atletico in midweek as well. So Ronaldo's going to go. I'm probably going to sell him to Weghorst if Weghorst is past fit. The reason for that is he's nice and cheap, so he kind of gets a lot of money out of my forward 3. And also, obviously, that money's then used to fund Jota to Salah. But also, he's got a double game week in game week 27. So he is my favoured option right now. If he's not fit, I may just go to Jimenez instead, because I would have enough money to do that. So Ronaldo is definitely going, and he's going to fund Jota to Salah. The question then comes, is there any other hits kind of worthwhile? Josh King is definitely playing for me. I know people are frustrated with him. I am too. He hasn't scored since November. But there's no forward around the same price as King, apart from maybe Broja. But even I wouldn't, if I didn't own Broja, I wouldn't even bring him in for King this week, right? Unless you needed the money for whatever reason. There's no other players around that price for me to take a hit. So I'm definitely going to play King over all the players on my bench. Now, Broja's the interesting one because I don't actually mind playing him this week. But Ronaldo to Weghorst or Jimenez and Jota to Salah still leaves me with a bit of money where I could do Trossard to Saka. And Trossard obviously would be on my bench this week, so it's maybe not a big deal. But I do like those Arsenal fixtures. And if I'm selling Jota, that takes away one player that's going to blank in Game Week 27 when I'm not free hitting. So I can almost afford to have someone like Saka instead, who I could then bench in 27, has Watford in 28, and maybe a double game week as well. So I quite like the idea of doing Trossard to Saka. So the team would look like this. Obviously, I know I've put chips in play none. Triple captain will be on Salah. And this is what the team would look like. And this is where I think people assess hits incorrectly, okay? So this is a -8. I think it's fine. Whether or not taking a hit to get Saka in to not play Broja is worth it, I'll have to have a bit more of a think on that. But I kind of like how the team looks, and I'm okay with the 8-point hit, right? And then people have these like weird rules where they're like, well, I can't take any more than a -8. Or they'll look at what other people are doing. They'll see, okay, there's lots of -12s, -16s flying around. Therefore, I can take more hits. Or the other way of thinking is, well, if everyone else is taking loads of hits, I won't take them because then I get a green arrow. For me, all of that way of thinking is wrong, okay? So I've taken a -8. Let's say for argument's sake, we're all happy with that -8. It looks good. The only question then is, are there any more hits that are worthwhile? It does not matter what someone on Twitter is doing with their FPL team. It doesn't matter how many hits person A or person B is taking, right? The only thing is my team, are any more hits worthwhile? So the one I was looking at is Fernandes. So Fernandes versus Son. 4 extra points if I keep Fernandes. Obviously 4 less points if I get Son. But I get an extra fixture. I get a player that's more likely to score me a goal as well. Is that worth it? I kind of right now think it is. I'm not 100% set, but I do think it is. I don't care if it's a -12. Forget about that. I've taken the -8 anyway. I have to get Salah in. I think it's worth getting Saka. All those transfers in my head need to be made. Is it worth an extra hit? So if it is, this would be the team. -12. Son would come into for Fernandes. Get an extra fixture this week. Get a good fixture next week as well. Obviously, Fernandes has a good one as well in Game Week 27, but so does Son. So you're not losing out in Game Week 27. You're only potentially gaining this week. So that could be the -12. And again, from that point, I'll then decide whether De Gea to Ramsdale is worth it, whether Reguilon to an Arsenal defender or Saiss is worth it, and just go from there. It might be that maybe I play Broja, don't get Saka in, and maybe I do Reguilon to an Arsenal defender because then I can bench them in Game Week 27. But that is what the two teams are looking like. It's either this one for a -8 or this one for a -12 with Son. And again, people just look at the -12 and don't take into account the transfer in isolation. In my opinion, that is how you should look at hits. So that is my team. I don't see me taking any less than a -8 this week. Whether or not I'll get up to a -16, I don't know. But a -12 is looking pretty good. And I kind of like that team. It looks good for Game Week 27 as well. I've only got 3 players to bench. I've got De Gea against Watford at home too. I think it looks decent. Salah will be my triple captain. That's my transfer thoughts. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. Hit that subscribe button if you're new around here, and I'll be back tomorrow with more videos.